Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. Don't get left behind. Hire us today.
Yes, and our whole goal here is to tell you exactly what you need to know and how we're going to save busy professionals like you valuable time by helping you upskill quickly.
Exactly. We sift through the noise so you don't have to. And today we are unpacking a massive shift in how people view artificial intelligence. So look around the room you're sitting in right now. Imagine finding out that tomorrow a huge, windowless, humming warehouse is going to be built at the very end of your street.
Oh, man. I can only imagine the noise.
Right. And then imagine you get a notice from your local utility company saying your monthly electric bill is going to double. And on top of that, your city's water supply is suddenly strained.
Yeah, that is a nightmare scenario for any homeowner.
And all of this is happening just so an AI can, I don't know, generate better marketing emails or write code a few milliseconds faster. You'd probably be furious. And across the country, millions of people are feeling exactly that right now.
It's this profound disconnect, really, between our digital habits and our physical environment. Like, we love the convenience of the cloud, but the physical reality of that cloud is, well, it's incredibly heavy. It requires steel, concrete, massive cooling towers, and just millions of physical servers.
Which is what we're tackling in today's show. Everyone is using AI, but absolutely no one wants to live next to the machines powering it. It's like loving the convenience of next-day delivery, but suddenly finding out they want to build the mega warehouse right in your living room.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And to understand the sheer scale of this backlash, we really have to look at the baseline of public opinion. Travis O'Rourke recently published a really eye-opening article in Reuters titled "The AI NIMBY Problem." And he highlighted some new polling data that puts this into perspective.
I saw that, and the numbers are just shocking.
They really are. According to the Reuters poll O'Rourke cited, only 14% of people are comfortable having a data center built in their community.
14%. That's incredibly low.
But wait, it gets crazier. O'Rourke compares this to standard land use studies. And according to those studies, 20% of people are perfectly fine living near a prison.
Wait, really? A prison?
Yes, a prison. And 54% of people are fine living near a nuclear power plant.
Are people just, I don't know, acting like Luddites terrified of new tech, or is there a real material threat here?
Oh, it is entirely material. It comes down to very rational economic anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
See, if a prison or a nuclear plant gets built in your town, there are obvious drawbacks, sure. But there is also a massive, undeniable economic upside, which is jobs.
Oh, right, because you need people to run those places.
Exactly. Those facilities require hundreds, sometimes thousands of local workers for security, maintenance, operations. They anchor the local economy. An AI data center, though, does the exact opposite.
Because once the shell is built and all of the servers are plugged in, it's mostly automated. You basically just need a few security guards and a handful of technicians, right?
Exactly. But the real issue, the thing that hits people in the wallet, is the invisible extraction of local resources. Data centers place this astronomical, unprecedented demand on the local electrical grid. That Reuters poll actually showed 77% of Americans worry these hubs will spike their household electricity bills.
Okay, wait, let me pause you right there. How does a massive tech company building a private warehouse spike my personal electricity bill? If they use the power, shouldn't they just pay for the power?
On the surface, yeah, that makes sense. But you have to look at the mechanics of baseload power. A local utility company builds its infrastructure based on a predictable ebb and flow. People wake up, use power, go to work, come home, use power, go to sleep. The grid breathes, essentially.
Right, there are peaks and valleys.
Yes, but an AI data center does not breathe. It draws a massive, flatline amount of electricity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So it essentially eats up all the spare capacity the local grid was holding on to.
Exactly. And when that baseline capacity is maxed out, and say a hot summer afternoon hits where everyone turns on their air conditioning, the utility company suddenly doesn't have enough power. So to prevent blackouts, they're forced to buy emergency peaker power from the broader regional grid.
And I'm guessing that emergency power is not cheap.
It is vastly more expensive, and utilities are legally allowed to average out those massive new infrastructure and emergency power costs and just pass them directly onto the everyday ratepayer.
Wow. That is infuriating. So the residents are effectively subsidizing the infrastructure for multi-trillion-dollar tech companies.
Yes, and when you compound that with the other statistic from that poll that 50% of Americans fear AI will eventually take their jobs, you get this totally toxic combination.
You are paying a premium on your monthly utility bill to power the exact machine that you fear is going to automate your livelihood. I mean, no wonder the approval rating is sitting at 14%.
Right. And that 14% approval rating isn't just people complaining on the internet. It is actively translating into unprecedented action at the local government level.
Yeah, we are seeing this play out in real time. Monterey Park, California recently became the first U.S. city to outright ban data centers. And this wasn't some quiet city council vote at midnight either. The voters went to the ballot box and explicitly banned them by a majority vote referendum.
And the situation in Coachella, California is even more illustrative of how fast this grassroots mobilization is happening. Anthony Victoria did some great reporting on this for the Desert Sun.
Oh yeah, I read his piece. A company called Stronghold Power Systems proposed building not one, but 6 data centers in the city.
6 massive facilities pulling that kind of constant power in a desert community. The water usage alone for the cooling towers must have been terrifying to the locals.
Absolutely. So, according to Anthony Victoria's reporting, the residents just packed the council chambers. They organized. And the city council completely reversed course. They approved a 45-day moratorium on new data center development and officially voted to terminate the agreement with Stronghold.
And Mayor Frank Figueroa made a statement afterwards saying, "We've heard people, they want the long-term ban and ensuring that this topic will not come back."
Ensuring that this topic will not come back, that is a local government slamming the door shut. And this isn't just small towns either. Seattle just became the largest U.S. city to pass a moratorium on data center development.
Which brings up a really compelling voice from the sources we gathered. Audrey Wayne Gosselin, who is a professional in the electrical industry, she actually helped organize the Seattle resistance.
Yeah, her involvement is such a crucial data point here. When the infrastructure professionals, the people whose entire livelihoods depend on building the grid, start organizing protests, that signals a massive shift.
In her post, she framed this as a fundamental issue of consent. She argued that AI shouldn't be built for billionaires at the expense of community health. And she actually cited the Order of the Engineer oath to back that up.
Right. For our listeners who haven't heard of it, she quoted the section that says, "I will always be conscious that my skill carries with it the obligation to serve humanity." She is essentially arguing that rubber stamping these resource draining facilities violates the ethical code of her profession.
It highlights a deep structural failure in how the tech sector is engaging with the physical world. But, a city moratorium is really just a Band-Aid.
Because if Coachella bans a data center, big tech has enough money to just move 10 miles down the highway to unincorporated county land, right?
Exactly. That geographical loophole means local bans aren't enough, which is forcing this exact fight up to the state capitals. Over 30 states have proposed data center legislation this year alone.
But actually getting these laws passed is proving to be incredibly difficult. Julia Tilton reported on a specific case in Illinois for Grist, and it really illustrates this bottleneck. They introduced the POWER Act, which stands for Protecting Our Water and Energy Resources.
Right, and it's the perfect case study in legislative paralysis.
Looking at Julia Tilton's reporting, it seems like an incredibly sensible piece of legislation. It didn't even ban data centers, it just included baseline provisions for water usage transparency. But it failed to advance. Illinois Representative Robin Gable told reporters that lawmakers, quote, weren't quite ready to pass the legislation.
Yeah, they might try again later, but the states are essentially playing a massive game of regulatory chicken. State lawmakers are caught in a vice between furious utility taxpayers and big tech lobbyists bringing billions of dollars in capital investment.
So the state reps are terrified of capital flight. If Illinois demands strict water transparency, the tech companies might simply take their $5 billion project across the border to Indiana or Ohio.
Exactly. So when Representative Gable says they weren't quite ready, that is political speak for the lobbying pressure was too intense and the threat of losing the investment was too high.
So the tech industry is looking at this map of the United States, and they are seeing a nightmare of zoning boards and looming state regulations. They need a loophole.
A loophole that completely removes them from the jurisdiction of a local utility board or a state environmental committee.
And according to a follow-up newsletter from Travis O'Rourke, one billionaire has decided that the most logical way to bypass Earth's zoning laws is to just leave the planet entirely.
Yes, Elon Musk's ultimate pivot. Building an orbital data center powered by space-based solar energy, timed with the massive SpaceX IPO.
It sounds like pure science fiction. How does space actually solve the physical problems we've been talking about? Putting servers on a rocket seems insanely expensive.
From a logistical standpoint, it solves the two greatest bottlenecks: power generation and thermal management. In low Earth orbit, an array of solar panels has access to constant uninterrupted solar radiation. You have an infinite clean power source that never drains a municipal grid.
Okay, so infinite power. But what about cooling? You mentioned terrestrial data centers use millions of gallons of fresh water every day.
In the vacuum of space, the ambient environment is incredibly cold. Instead of using municipal water, an orbital data center would use massive radiator panels to vent the heat directly into the vacuum of space.
So you completely eliminate the strain on local power and water supplies.
Hmm?
And you achieve the ultimate form of jurisdictional arbitrage. There is no Coachella City Council in space.
That is the strategic brilliance of it. You completely sidestep the Illinois Power Act or grassroots protests. It is an end run around every single terrestrial bottleneck.
But Travis O'Rourke points out a really funny irony in his reporting. Musk wants to move this heavy infrastructure off the planet, which is a win for the environment, but he's asking the exact same environmentalists who fought his terrestrial factories to suddenly cheer for his orbital server farms.
It creates an incredibly complex puzzle for global governance.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. If you enjoy this free content, buy us a coffee or hire us to coach you and your employees in AI.